Okay, so for this first one, what do we have to do?
13 times 6 divided by 2.
Careful. This is a trapezoid. So remember, a trapezoid can be made into a rectangle. So what are we going to add together? What are we going to average together? 13 and 31. Perfect. And divided by 2 to average those together. And then times the 16 height. So what do we get? 13 plus 31 is 44. Divided by 2 is 22. Times 16 is 352. And that is inches squared. Any questions on that one? That look familiar? Okay. And this one, 120 feet squared, yes. 10 feet times 24 feet divided by 2 because it is a triangle is 120 feet squared. Any questions? Okay. So, from here, we're going to move on. What happens if it's not just a simple shape like what we've seen here? What if it's something just a little bit more complex? We've looked at, so far, simple rectangles, simple triangles, trapezoids, as we saw here, and circles. Well, what happens if it's not any of those? Like this. Let's say that is 30 inches, and I want to find the area of it. It's supposed to be a half circle. Yeah, when you put that in there, that means it's the center. If it were a full circle, how would I do it? The area would be pi r squared. Very good. So for this circle, that would be pi times what squared? 15 inches squared. Giving us 706.5. So is that our answer?
No.
Because we only have half the circle, so we have to divide by 2. Give us 353.25. What do you think? Not so tough? Okay. Well, what if we take that concept and combine it with things like this? We've kind of done stuff like this, but we're going to make it worse. Trust me.
Whatever you learned so far.
Oh, no. You're going to need everything you've learned so far. So now, if I asked you to find the area of this, what would we do?
Find the length of that side.
Which one? This one?
Yeah.
Let's find the length of that one first. What's that length is it? So 13 inches. Now I'm going to stop there. Anybody have a questions where that 13 came from? You used to have 18 here. So these two sides have to add up to 18. So you've got 5. 18 minus 5 leaves us with 13 for that one. So very important because if you can't find that, you're kind of done for the rest of it. How about this one? 16, yeah, because you got 30 here. These two have to add up to 30, so you got 14. This has to be 16. Now, to find the area, what's that? No, we didn't necessarily need the 16, but it's good practice. Cut it like this. We could have done that, or we could have done it this way too. It doesn't matter. So I'm going to call this piece 1. What size is piece 1? 14 by 5, or 5 by 14, which is 70 square inches. Then piece 2 is 13 by 30, 390 square inches, for a total of 460 square inches. Now we mentioned there's another way to do this. We could have done this. Filled that in and said, okay, this is 18 by 30, which is 540 square inches. And then this piece here that's missing is 5 by 16, or 80 square inches, which is 460 square inches. Make sense? So instead of cutting into smaller pieces, I made it a bigger rectangle and I subtracted back out the pieces that were missing. Now in a case like this, either method's about the same amount of work. Cutting into smaller pieces and adding them up, or making it bigger and subtracting out missing pieces. But there will be times where only one method will work. For example, pretend it's a half circle cut out of there. Here, there is no way I could cut this into smaller pieces and add them up. So what I would have to do is this here. I have to make it a big rectangle. The area of that big rectangle is 16 by 25, otherwise known as 400 square inches. And then this half circle here. How do I find its area? So 3.14 pi times 8 squared divided by 2, because it's only half the circle. So pi times 8 squared is 200.96. Depending on whether you use the pi cube or 3.14. 3.14 is 200.96. Divide that by 2 is 100.48. You subtract that from 400. 299.52 square inches. What do you think? Not so bad? You could have done it like that, a triangle. Like this? This isn't a triangle though, it's less than a triangle.
Can't you do that with a radius?
No. No. It won't come out. That'd give you an area bigger than what it actually is. Because this isn't a straight line, it's not going to work out right. It won't. No. There's no formula to figure that out. Now let's give you one that goes the other way. How would we find the area of this? Okay, what's that going to be? 18 minus 12 is going to be 6 inches, okay.
Quarter of a circle?
It is a quarter circle. So the area of the circle is going to be pi times 6 squared, and it's going to be divided by 4. You're correct. What's that? 28.27 sounds about right. 28.26, 28.27, yep. Inches squared. So that's that piece. That's done. If we did 18 times 28, that would give us this whole thing. We'd have to subtract out that square. We could do that. So 18 times 28 is 504. Then we have to subtract out a 6 by 6 square. That's 36. So that's 468. Then we have to add back in the 28.26, which is 496.26. Or you could have, cut this up and had a 6 by, this is 6 inches, so this would have been 22 inches. So you'd add a 6 by 22 and a 12 by 28 and added those up. Either one would have worked. I'm going to have you guys try one. You knew it had to happen sooner or later. I can't have all the fun to myself up here. There you go. Find the area of that. Tell me where to start. First of all, do we know the radius of the circles, the half circles? How much is it? 10 millimeters. How'd you get that? 60 minus 40 is 20, and half that has to go on each end. So that's 10 millimeters on each end. So that would have to be the radius of the circle. So that's telling us is across here is how much? 20. That's the diameter of the circle, so 2 radii. So what we have there is we have a rectangle that is 40 by 20, otherwise known as 800 millimeters squared. And then we have 2 half circles, but if we're creative, we don't have to do 2 half circles. We put them together and make a circle. And that circle area is 3.14 times 10 squared, which is 314 millimeters squared, which gives 1114 millimeters squared. What you think? Good stuff? Find the perimeter of that. Perimeter. Pi times diameter. Yep. So this isn't as hard as it looks at first. We have the circumference of the circle, which is just going to be pi times a diameter of 20 millimeters. which is 62.8 millimeters, plus 40 and 40 is 142.8 millimeters. How many of you ended up with that? Anybody not see where we got it from? So we just had between these two here, that's one full circle, so that's the circumference of the circle. Then just 40 here and 40 there. Need a little more room for this. Pretend that's half a circle. And that's half a circle. And let's say that that is 8 inches, and that is 12 inches. Find its area. How do you get 96? Yeah, it's really a rectangle. If I chop this off and stick it right in there, and it fills it up. It's a rectangle. I have a half circle added down here, but I have the exact same size half circle cut out up here. So it's really just a rectangle. 8 inches by 12 inches makes 96 inches squared. Sure. Thought I'd fool you on that one, but I guess I'm not as smart as I thought I was. Trying to figure out what I want to do next. A cylinder. If I look at surface area, what I'm looking at is the area of all the surfaces. So let's say this cylinder is 10 centimeters by 12 centimeters. Well, surface area, I'm just adding up all the surfaces. So I have a circle up here that is just going to have an area of pi times radius squared. What's the radius? 5, right? So 5 squared is 25 times pi is 78.5 about. That's going to be centimeters squared. Why am I writing a second 78.5 here? Because there's a circle on the bottom. Now what the side of that is, if you think of this, imagine taking a scissors and just cutting right up the side of that can. And you take that and you roll it out. What shape is that going to be? A rectangle. Well, the height of this rectangle is still 12 centimeters. What's the length of this? It's the distance around here, right? That distance is the circumference of the circle, which is going to be just pi times 10. Pi times diameter. So 31.4 centimeters. So that area is 12 centimeters times 31.4 centimeters, which is going to give us, what, 370, 376.99? Oh, so 376 point, yeah. Just 12 times 31.4. 0.8, okay. So that gives us 0.8 to the 1, 22, 23, Okay, the 2, 16, 23, 533.8 centimeters squared, or 533.96 if you use the pi key. On quizzes and tests, by the way, I will have both answers. I will figure it out with the pi key and then with just 3.14. And anything in between there will be acceptable. Usually they're within like 2 of each other anyway. So, find the surface area of that for me quick. Okay, talk me through it. Surface area, what'd you get? Talk me through it. How'd you get there? So 2 circles. So pi times 4 squared. That's what, 50.24 about? And there's, of course, 2 of them. Then what? Okay. To get the circumference of the circle, it's pi times 8, pi times d, which is 25.12 inches. Not times 2, but times 15, right? Which is going to give us 375.18 or something like that. No. 376.8. What'd you say? Did you use the pi key or 3.14? Okay, I was using 3.14, so it's the same thing. We're good. So we got 477.28 total, 477.4 something if you use the pi key. What do you think? Good stuff. Let's challenge you a wee bit. Find the area of that ring. So, how'd you approach this one? Find the bigger one first. So that area is pi times 8 squared, 200.96 inches squared. Then what? 6 squared, 8 minus 2, right? Subtract 2, you're left with 6. Pi times 6 squared is 113.04. And we are subtracting, which is going to give us 87.92. Sound right? Cool. Okay, well, I'm going to let you guys try some. In the little, actually, you know what? No, not in the little books. In the big book. I believe it is page 592 through 594. Exercise 27-2, 1 through 30. I just have to do the odds. So 1 through 29, technically the odds.